following Project Open Arts program is a special presentation. Major funding for Project Open Arts has been provided by the CNG Foundation on behalf of the Consolidated Natural Gas Company, supporting the arts to enhance the economic and social vitality of the communities we serve. Additional funding has been provided by the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, celebrating over 2 decades of government support of the arts and artists in recognition of their importance and vitality.
If you were asked to describe the arts in Pittsburgh, you might say they're elegant, emotional,
Peter, he's been on his own since his mother died,
or stirring. You could also say they're offbeat,
click, click, pop, pop,
experimental, or humorous. And on all counts, you'd be right. The curtain is going up on a new cultural arts season here in Pittsburgh, and it's revealing a growing excitement and interest and variety in the arts. I'm Nancy Polinsky. You could sense that excitement at the gala opening of the Benedum Center for the Performing Arts. You can see it in Oakland, where more and more people are visiting the Carnegie. It's evident in theaters and galleries and performance halls all over the city. And the excitement is not just for the season kicking off this fall. It's also for the new ideas, the new arts groups, the new concepts in art that are taking hold in a city rooted in the traditional. Pittsburgh is home to a world-class symphony orchestra, as well known across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans as it is along our own 3 rivers. We have an opera company whose reputation for excellence and popular appeal continue to grow after nearly half a century. And a classical ballet company that attracts dancers from around the world. Our Civic Light Opera brings the best of Broadway musical theater right here to the Golden Triangle. And the Carnegie has put Pittsburgh on the map of internationally ranked museums. It is these and other arts groups that we think of as the big flagship organizations that have laid the foundation for the cultural climate in our city. They create an awareness of our heritage of art, music, dance, and drama, and they serve as a point of departure for newer, more experimental groups that round out the art scene. The art we see here at the Carnegie, for instance, or the classical ballet we enjoy at the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, gives us a background against which we can appreciate the challenging, innovative work of contemporary artists. A healthy cultural climate contains a good balance of the old and the new. But as you're about to see, that's easier said than done, especially in this town, which in the arts, many critics claim is still far too conservative. Let's look at 6 local arts organizations and see how they contribute to Pittsburgh's artistic balance in theater, dance, and art, and in choral music, new music, and even the music of a brass band. You may be in for some surprises. Over on the north side, the great tradition of theater in Pittsburgh lives on in the first Carnegie Music Hall. Here, the Pittsburgh Public Theater plays a leading role in presenting the panoply of life past and present, as it can only be found on stage.
Sit down, sit down. Look, you're getting married. You're starting a new life. I mean, I seen you happy, but I never seen you happy like this. It started me thinking about my own life and what I
The Public Theater was founded by Pittsburghers who were concerned that the city did not have a flagship stage. The old Nixon had died in the 60s, and several efforts to create new theatrical companies had petered out. With the support of the city and several of the large foundations here, Joan Apt and Margaret Rick led the drive to renovate the Carnegie Complex, hire artistic director Ben Schachtman, and present the Pittsburgh Public Theater's first season in 1975. The public's commitment to balancing the old and the new was evident from the start. The first season opened with Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie and moved on to Dale Wasserman's adaptation of Ken Kesey's explosive novel, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Since then, the public has presented Pittsburgh with a widely varied playbill. Leonard Nimoy in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, the social satire of George Bernard Shaw, Fionnuala Flanagan's one-woman tour de force, Joyce's Women, and the searing indictment of apartheid in Athol Fugard's Master Harold and the Boys. From an opening season of 3 shows, Pittsburgh Public Theater now presents a 6-play season, and the job of choosing those plays falls to producing director Bill Gardner. A talented veteran of theater in Chicago and New York, whose productions include several Tony Award winners, Gardner's experience has taught him the importance of keeping attuned to his audience.
You want to be a vital theater that appeals to all segments of the community. And so it's important to put on plays that can attract all segments of the community. The play we closed the season with in 1986-87 was a play with an Italian base, so to speak, written by a Jewish playwright.
Well, who is to say what is right and what is wrong? Marcella and Angelina Giuseppina have their style, and Lucille Fazzari and Princess Grace have theirs.
That production of Princess Grace and the Fazzaris was the world premiere of Mark Allen Zagoran's comedy about an Italian-American family caught up in wedding plans. With no precedent for how a scene should look, the director works closely with the actors and the playwright to make the play come alive.
Got to seal it up. I got to give her the specifics. So that's mentally that's where she's headed. And this is all just total interruption.
Princess Grace and the Fazzaris is set in New Jersey in the 1950s, but the family problems and personal emotions examined in it are universal and timeless.
Sangione say, take me to the cemetery to see the papa. There is no Sangione. Oh, inch you in, please, inch you in. Look at that robe. You had that robe when I was still living at home. I like this robe. I get it when I'm making my confirmation.
Despite the fact that it was a completely new production, Pittsburghers turned out in droves for Princess Grace and the Fazzaris, a tribute to Bill Gardner's ability to predict his audience's reaction to a new play.
But the secret now, what we have to do, our job now, is to find the Polish plays, the black plays, the Irish plays that will attract this community of Pittsburgh, because the theater is for this community, first and foremost.
That community spirit can be seen in every facet of the public theater. Gardner draws on the excellent theater schools in Pittsburgh to fill the many jobs the public generates, behind the scenes as well as on stage. For the top acting, directing, and technical spots, he casts his net wide, but the best talent can often be found right here. Pittsburgh actors like Tom Atkins, who trained at Duquesne University before going on to New York and Hollywood. Lenora Nemetz, who began her career with the CLO. And Helena Ruati, a regular with City Theater, who will play the title role in the public's upcoming production of Edith Stein. The public's reputation as one of the nation's finest regional theaters has made it easy for Gardner to attract actors and directors from New York to Hollywood. Pittsburgh Public Theater has arrived, and its success has been remarkable. It has one of the highest subscription rates and earns a larger share of its budget from ticket income than most theaters of its kind. As a symbol of that success, the Public Theater this year introduced the George S. Kaufman Award. Named after Pittsburgh's most famous playwright, it salutes lifetime achievement in the theater. Helen Hayes, the First Lady of American Theater, was the first recipient.
I'm very, very grateful, of course, and honored. And I'm especially happy to have my name beside George Kaufman's. I've heard it, that phrase several times this afternoon and this evening. George Kaufman and Helen Hayes. Oh, I just like that we're a pair.
Only a theater with extraordinary spirit could have come this far in only 12 years. Pittsburgh Public Theater has that spirit and a lot of heart. It reaches out to people with free performances for disadvantaged Pittsburghers and special performances for the visually handicapped and the hearing impaired. All this effort is made because Gardner believes live theater provides a unique medium through which people can come together and share real-life universal experiences, like those in last year's production of the contemporary play, Vikings.
Now, listen, Peter, you took away his job, all right? He'll get another one. Probably hammering nails and sawing wood, because that's what he likes to do. Why did you take away his home?
Because it's time.
No, it's never time. People sitting alone with no one to share their food with, it's never time.
The kid has got to be on his own.
Peter, he's been on his own since his mother died. And you don't even know that.
A production like Vikings that reaches out and grabs you doesn't just happen. It takes teamwork and close collaboration among everyone involved, including actor Tom Atkins and director Lee Sankowitz.
Well, a play like Vikings, you are trying to get an audience, I think, to identify with the people on stage. I mean, I think that's true of just about any play you do, but Vikings in particular, because it's about family relationships. And Stephen Metcalf gave us 3 real people that we could identify with, and I think that the actors doing the roles have the capacity of doing it.
I try to make it look as easy as possible, I guess, but it isn't easy to do. It wears me out. It's real tiring. It's emotionally draining and real satisfying at the same time, though. It's nice to feel 450 people around you, with you, and hear them sniffle in the dark, and hear them laugh when you give a good punchline or set up something. It's an instant feedback that you get right away from the audience, and I like that. Unfortunately, it's tough to make a living in the theater, and the blessing of TV and films is that they afford me and many other actors to be able to go back to their stage roots and do this wherever we can. And I'm real happy to be able to live and do it here in Pittsburgh.
A city without a theater is a city without a heart. And thank goodness Pittsburgh has the public to reach out and embrace us all.
You got something you want to tell me?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Okay.
This afternoon, his heart. He called my mom's name as if she was in the room beckoning for him. There was no pain, no needles, no tubes. There was dignity.
You know, we go home, and he's gonna be sitting there waiting for us. Won't he? No, he won't. Shit. I'm glad we had the birthdays.
It's okay. It helps. It's okay.
Powerful scenes like that are what bring Pittsburgh Public Theater audiences back again and again, making this theater a mainstay of the cultural life of the city. The Public Theater is a financial success because of that careful balance it maintains between presenting popular works and new and challenging ones. For example, this season, the public will entice us back with a lineup that includes traditional favorites like Eugene O'Neill's The Hairy Ape and the lighthearted musical Dames at Sea, and premieres like Edith Stein and new works fresh from the Broadway stage. The success of Pittsburgh Public Theater creates a healthy environment for smaller, specialized theaters in and around the city, despite the high mortality rate for such ventures in the past. In Oakland, City Theater emphasizes contemporary American drama and draws full houses. The Wilkinsburg Arts Theater made its debut this year in the auditorium of the town's Borough Building. The Laurel Highlands Regional Theater is negotiating for theater space in Lawrenceville, while down on Penn Avenue, the new Group Theater represents perhaps the off-Broadway of Pittsburgh. It's not easy for those smaller theaters to sustain themselves when they're often on the cutting edge of presenting new, untried works. A Renaissance theater, for instance, which debuted just this past spring to present the works of new playwrights, is in the throes of fundraising in order to continue its search for the George S. Kaufmans of tomorrow. While Pittsburgh Public Theater walks a fine line in presenting a balance between old and new works, just a few blocks from here, there's another arts organization that thrives on being different. Tucked away in the Mexican War Streets district of the North Side is a radically different art museum. It's housed in a turn-of-the-century building that was once a mattress factory, and from that, it got its name. The Mattress Factory is what is known as an alternative museum. It specializes in performance and installation art, such as this piece in the museum's garden. It's called Making Shelter, House of Used Parts, and it may look like a piece of playground equipment, but it was created by the artist Vito Aconci and is now at the Museum of Contemporary Art in La Jolla, California. Exhibiting installation art like this makes the Mattress Factory different from most other museums, says its independent and visionary founder, sculptor Barbara Luderowski.
An alternative museum, such as the Mattress Factory, hopes to challenge the viewer's perception of art in relation to the more traditional forms of art. The artist is generally dealing with the same kinds of questions, and the evidence of that, I think, becomes more apparent to the viewing public when he sees an installation piece. He has to ask himself about his response to it. He has to see himself in relationship to it, whereas you're inclined to take things for granted when you go through a traditional museum. We hope to bring the viewing public that kind of a challenge.
And a challenge it can certainly be. A work like this one by Jean Heistein is called an installation piece because it was created specifically for this room. But as Michael Olenek, curator of exhibition, explains, the resulting interaction between the space and the piece can be disconcerting.
And this particular piece looks as if it was here before the architecture was here, and the architecture was built around the space. And what happens when you walk around the piece is it feels as if the architecture is peeling away from it. It has more strength than the old architecture that was here. And some of the strength comes from the material that it's made out of. It's cement over a wooden structure.
The Mattress Factory would hope that the person who views the work they see here would ask themselves questions about what is it? How do I respond to it? I think you have to listen to your heart. You have to say, no, I like it now. Why do I like it? What is it doing to me? Is it making me feel scared? Is it making me feel pleased? Is it creating kind of anxieties in me, as some pieces have done?
Installation art is as old as the cave paintings, mosaics, frescoes. Even the Parthenon itself can be viewed as a site-specific installation piece. What the Mattress Factory does is give artists the space and the facilities and the support they need to create works that are not portable, like a painting or a sculpture, but anchored to a specific time and place. In fact, installation art can double as both art and living quarters.
This space is going to be an artist residence space by an artist named Alan Wexler. And what Alan is doing in this space is, on a barn track that's going to be going across the space here, he's building a floating wall. And out of that floating wall, there are going to be holes cut in it where the furniture and the architecture that's in here will pass through. And you'll be able to take that wall and move it across the space, stop it in certain areas, and fill it back in with the furniture that's in this room and make two smaller rooms. Or what you can do is take the wall and push it completely across the room and have it stop at this wall. And what it simply will be was an explanation of everything that's in the room.
Another Mattress Factory permanent installation is Bill Woodrow's Ship of Fools, Discovery of Time. It's an allegory about the creation and the end of the world, and it may cause you to scratch your head a while and ask what it's all about. And if it does, then it's doing its job, according to the curator of contemporary art at the Carnegie, John Caldwell.
I think all art, all the best art, inevitably causes us to stretch our own sense, of course, not just of what art is about, but what we're about. You can't really stand in front of a great Rembrandt painting and not question what human life is about. The Mattress Factory is perhaps a little clearer about that, in that the kinds of art they show are non-traditional. But basically, they are like the Rijksmuseum in Holland or the Frick in New York, in that they're showing the very best art they can show. And all of the best art is constantly disturbing.
Not all the art the Mattress Factory commissions is permanent. Some is there for just the length of the exhibition. And the work of the performance artists may last for only the drop of a pin. For many people, the idea of performance art is just plain confusing. Is it theater? Is it dance? Is it art? Well, it can be any or all of these, plus other elements as well. Performance art as such has been around since the beginning of the century, but it owes a lot of its origins to religious rituals or cultural pageantry in earlier times. Nowadays, performance artists combine every imaginable medium in every conceivable setting to create carefully orchestrated, highly creative presentations. And the effect on an audience can be surprising.
Click, click, pop, pop, snap, snap. I got my eye on you. I got my eye on you. Smile.
The Mattress Factory's concentration on performance and installation art has made it well known in international art circles, and its visitors are as likely to be from New York or Paris as from Oakland or the South Side. That recognition has laid a solid foundation for further plans. Already, a gallery annex and other pieces of property have been acquired, and an ambitious expansion plan is underway that Luderowski believes will benefit the neighborhood as much as the museum.
I think the Mattress Factory's development, both the main building and the satellite project, is viewed as having the potential for a very positive economic impact on the immediate area. The north side has an image with people that is sort of like, you know, it's the backside of the railroad tracks. Well, it isn't the backside of the railroad tracks. It's an energetic, upcoming kind of neighborhood which needs an enormous amount of input.
Like any innovator, the Mattress Factory and the art it champions are often misunderstood. What it presents can be controversial, and it can remind us of how painters we now revere, like the Impressionists or Picasso or Van Gogh, were ridiculed by critics and the general public at first. But after you've seen what the Mattress Factory does, the world around is not quite the same again. You've had to look at things differently, if only for a moment or two. And anytime you do that, you reassess who you are and what you're doing and why. And once in a while, that's not a bad idea. Just as the Mattress Factory challenges our assumptions about art, there's an organization in town that plays the same role in the world of dance. The Pittsburgh Dance Council is dedicated to the idea of presenting the best in contemporary dance to Pittsburgh audiences. Margot Singleton was executive director of the Dance Council until earlier this year, and a lot of people credit her with making the Dance Council a real success story. Despite that success, some people are still confused about what the Dance Council does.
We're not a company of dancers ourselves, and sometimes people confuse us with Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, or they call us for classes or lessons, or they want to audition for our company, and that's not what we're all about. We really are a presenting organization and a service organization, and we're here to bring in other dance companies.
The Dance Council brings in some of the biggest names in modern dance from the United States and abroad, like Nicolai Dance Theater, Martha Graham, Twyla Tharp, and the Netherlands Dance Theater. Some companies come from the more classical tradition, like the North Carolina Dance Theater, seen in the Dance Over America series last season. Well-known groups like the North Carolina Dance Theater always draw a large audience in Pittsburgh, and the Dance Council welcomes the publicity and ticket income that come with these performances.
The Dance Council presents different aspects of dance. When you come into, rather than doing classical, which is point, on toe, it gives you an opportunity to see modern kinds of companies, and that's very nice. I think we have to have that kind of a balance. Just as in music, you have classical and modern, and we should see those kinds of things.
I think it just shows that it's a well-rounded community where you can get, if you're looking for arts, you can get that. If you're looking for entertainment, you can get that. It just shows that the community has a lot to offer.
The larger dance groups, whose names are household words, are presented in the Dance Council's spring season, which this year moves into the new Benedum Center downtown and includes the Nicolai Dance Theater, the Jazz Tap Ensemble, and the renowned Dance Theater of Harlem. Carolinda Dickey, the new executive director of the Pittsburgh Dance Council, is impressed with the variety and scope of the performance series.
Pittsburgh Dance Council has a fabulous performing series. I mean, they probably have one of the strongest performing series in the country. It's not necessarily the largest, but what we have is we offer a great variety of dance, and we produce it in a very, very successful and accessible way. That's something that I will not change at all. I will only expand on. We're looking at a number of programs that will bring in some of the truly innovative, small, what we call baby choreographers.
That kind of choreography makes up the Council's Fall series in the 600-seat Stephen Foster Memorial Theater in Oakland. This fall, the series will include Annabelle Gamson, Pilar Rioja, and Pouquet's Eccentric Motions.
It's really our mission to bring in these kinds of artists. They may not be terrific box office successes, but that's all right. There are still enough of us around who really enjoy the more unusual, off-the-wall kinds of programs.
As a presenting organization, the Dance Council takes care of planning, scheduling, and publicity. It also makes sure that all the technical requirements are met when a visiting company arrives from out of town. The Dance Council's mission is not just to bring the best in modern dance and contemporary choreography to Pittsburgh, but also to encourage local emerging dance artists. Every spring, the Council holds the Choreographers Continuum. Local choreographers are invited to submit works they have created, the best of which are chosen to be presented and judged at a performance in front of a live audience. It's exhilarating for young choreographers to see their works on stage, often for the first time.
One of the most important things for a young choreographer to look for is really the opportunity to fail. There are very few chances where someone can try something that is new. And at this stage of the game, almost everything I try is new for me. And to be in a situation where it can fail and I can have people's feedback and find out why it failed, that's almost much more valuable than doing something that always succeeds.
It's a great experience because you have to worry about lighting and other dancers and costumes, and if your choreography is doing what you had originally intended in your mind, you know, and sure you make mistakes, and I'm sure I made mistakes, but it's a great experience.
We know that there's been a tremendous increase in the public's interest in dance over the last 20 years, and I can speak specifically about the Pittsburgh market. At the Pittsburgh Dance Council, for example, we have seen a 450% increase in our season ticket holders over the last 4.5 years. We've had a similar increase in our single ticket holders. So in other words, we've been playing to very full houses.
The Dance Council's success with the more traditional modern dance has paved the way for the avant-garde to be successful here as well. It's a formula rapidly resulting in standing room only.
Dancers perform and choreographers create because they are compelled to express their vision through their art form. And all artists, actors, dancers, and singers are happiest when they're bringing their talent to life. Some people even pay for that opportunity.
The Mendelssohn Choir is one of the largest choirs in the country. It has 155 talented amateur and professional singers who pay dues for the privilege of belonging, subsidize their own expenses, give up considerable amounts of their free time for rehearsals and performances, and have to answer to the highest possible artistic standards, all for the love of singing.
Again, cleaner.
It's a grand night for singing. The moon is flying high, and somewhere a bird who is bound will be heard. He's throwing his horn at the sky. It's a grand night for singing. The stars are bright above. The earth is aglow, and to add to the show, I think I am falling in love.
Founded in 1908, it's one of the oldest arts organizations in the city. The Mendelssohn Choir is called the voice of Pittsburgh. The singers come from all walks of life, and the choir is really a community expression of the long-standing love affair Pittsburghers have with choral music. Choirs like the Gounod Club and the Mozart Club flourished here in the late 1800s, and one of the great German choirs, the Teutonia Manichor, is still in existence on Pittsburgh's north side. The choir is named after Felix Mendelssohn, the 19th century German Romantic composer, whose prolific output ironically included only one major choral work, Elijah. Because of its size, the choir can perform the great classical works for symphony and chorus, like Verdi's Requiem, the Bach B minor Mass, Mahler's Resurrection Symphony, and oratorios like Honegger's King David. But 20th century classical and popular composers like Jerome Kern, Karl Orff, and Dmitri Shostakovich share equal billing. And other musical tastes are indulged, with special editions like a barbershop quartet.
If you will, take me along with you. With you. Take me along with you.
The driving force behind the Mendelssohn is music director and conductor Robert Page. Page is a multi-talented musician who numbers several Grammys among his many awards for choral recordings.
Many people ask me what are my ideas of describing a first-class or world-class choir. The first thing is the sound itself. The sound is one aspect. The other is discipline. To me, the word creative is such an overused word. Art begins with discipline. Creativity, I think, is a product of discipline. And when a singer knows his or her craft, how to use the voice, how to use the language, how to plunge into the depths of emotion that a particular composition implies, that is a major factor. The other is tenacity. Stick to it. You've got to stick with it, whether you like the tune or not. It's got to be the same kind of dedication.
Right now, hit it.
The level of professionalism Page demands doesn't come without hard work. Members have to constantly work on their pronunciation of foreign languages, their understanding of the texts, and most importantly, on their voices.
What is that tongue doing? Again, spell. Spur. Drop the jaw.
Each member of the choir must re-audition annually before Page, a nerve-wracking experience despite Page's supportive attitude.
Time and again I've longed for adventure, something to make my heart beat the faster.
They're scared spitless. I mean, when they come to a re-audition, it's a love-hate situation. They want me to know what they're doing, and yet they hate to be put on the spot, and yet they want to be put on the spot. You know, it's ego, and I like to encourage that kind of ego. But I know that they're nervous. John Niederberger is a prime example of a volunteer singer who has the capacity, musically and intellectually, to be a professional singer, but has chosen not to be one.
Bravo, absolutely bravo, John. Terrific, terrific. Every bloody word and all of the rhythm exactly right there. Okay, sight singing, please.
John Niederberger has been singing with the Mendelssohn Choir for 7 years. He works with the Allegheny County Department of Engineering and in his spare time is an antique car buff. Both hobbies give him a deep sense of satisfaction.
Singing with the Mendelssohn Choir brings a sense of joy to me, like it does when I drive this old Chrysler that people notice and remark that it's a thing of beauty. Singing in the choir is a love affair because we do the great music and we do it very well, and we're fortunate to have the chance to perform with the Pittsburgh Symphony. It's really, as I say, a love affair because it's a great time investment for all of the members time spent away from home during rehearsal weeks, but when you do the finished product and the audience just gives you that thunderous applause, it just gives you an incredible high. You can't describe it. It gives you goosebumps.
Perhaps nothing the Mendelssohn Choir performs thrills an audience more than liturgical music. It's only one facet of their repertoire, but it provides some of the most glorious examples of the choir's skills. The Mendelssohn Chamber Chorus, the 24-member professional corps of the choir, recently sang a concert of the sacred music of Heinrich Schütz and other 17th century composers in the historic Church of St. Augustine in Lawrenceville. And what an appropriate setting! Built in 1899 with funds donated by the founders of the nearby Iron City Brewery, St. Augustine's has been a center of parish life since its founding. That tradition continues and is enhanced by this majestic music.
This is music that is alive, and we who sing it have an added responsibility of singing an absolute message via the text, which goes right to a person's heart. And if it doesn't start in the heart of the singer, it's not going to reach another person's heart.
The Mendelssohn's professional sound and wide range of programs led to its debut last year at Lincoln Center. And this year they will debut at the other Carnegie Hall, the one in New York. Page has started a junior Mendelssohn, a guaranteed source of choir members for the future. And the choir's 1987-88 season includes 7 performances with the Pittsburgh Symphony, an affirmation by Maestro Loren Mazel of the choir's high quality and musical standards. The partnership of the choir with the symphony is highlighted in the annual Christmas collaboration of Handel's Messiah. Pittsburgh audience continues to grow, and Page is convinced that this city has one of the most stimulating audience potentials in the country. That may not be the picture everyone has of the Pittsburgh audience. Artists, arts administrators, and critics frequently bemoan the innate conservatism here. But while some artistic directors cater to that conservatism, there are others whose mission focuses completely on the new. Controversial and at the forefront of contemporary music, the Pittsburgh New Music Ensemble shakes up Pittsburgh's music establishment with the sounds of composers whose names are not household words. As an ensemble, the 5 to 15 musicians in the group play only new music, and they do so under the direction of the ensemble's founder, composer and conductor David Stock.
In the simplest possible terms, new music is music which is new, music which has been written fairly recently. It's those words, slippery words, relatively or fairly, that get us into trouble. What we think of ourselves as an extension of the tradition of Western music, which includes whomever, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, Stravinsky, Ives, Copland, you name it. We're part of that tradition.
Most of what the New Music Ensemble performs was composed within the past 10 years. It specializes in American music and emphasizes Pennsylvania and specifically Pittsburgh composers. Before the Pittsburgh New Music Ensemble, it was difficult to find this kind of music in town on a regular basis.
I came back to Pittsburgh after being away for 11 years in the fall of 1975. And I came here with the express purpose of founding this ensemble. So I started looking around for good musicians, and I went around to every place in the city to talk about what I was going to do, and everyone said, "You're crazy. It can't be done in Pittsburgh." And I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And don't play in scale order all the time. We're getting too many chromatic scales. Don't just go, it's not the flight of the bumblebee.
Stock's tenacity paid off. With the support and encouragement of Jack Summers of WQED-FM and Stanley Levin, supervisor of music in the city schools, the ensemble began a tenuous presence in the city. It is now in its 12th season and has just become the resident ensemble at Duquesne University. After many years of performing at Chatham College, its concert series is now being presented at Rodef Sholom Temple in Oakland. The ensemble has toured major American cities, including New York, where it made its debut at Carnegie Recital Hall in 1981. It has been in residence at the Charles Ives Center for American Music in Connecticut, recorded several albums, and broadcast over national public radio. In 1986, David Stock received a special citation of achievement from BMI, the world's largest performing rights organization. This award was previously given only to pop composers, such as John Lennon, James Taylor, and Paul Simon. Last year, the Pittsburgh Symphony performed one of Stock's compositions at the All-American Salute at Heinz Hall. And recently, David Stock was appointed the symphony's composer in residence. Quite a turn of events for someone who in 1975 wrote to the symphony complaining of a lack of new music in its programming and didn't even get a response. Today, David Stock's efforts have gained the respect of musicians and composers from around the world. The public, however, is rarely as quick to embrace new music. It sometimes takes decades for composers to reach even limited acceptance. 35 years ago at the Pittsburgh International Contemporary Music Festival, audiences heard world premieres of pieces by such composers as Francis Poulenc, Heitor Villa-Lobos, Béla Bartók, and Alberto Ginastera, composers whose works are only now considered part of the standard repertoire. Last year, another festival was held under the auspices of the Pittsburgh New Music Ensemble. Perhaps some of the works presented then will be part of the standard repertoire 35 years from now.
None of us really knows what the music that we play is really going to stick around. We all have our guesses, but the very fact that we're there at practically at the moment of creation, or soon thereafter, is very exciting. And that's the kind of excitement we want to get the public involved with.
Ensemble members have their work cut out for them. It's a difficult task, but one they seem to enjoy.
We're like commandos. In other words, we have just so many opportunities to rehearse the music and really one shot at the performance. And I call it, we're like commandos. We're musical commandos.
I like the challenge. I like the challenge of playing things that are usually very difficult. The first time I look at a new piece that we're going to play, I think, there's no way that I'll ever be able to play this. It's just beyond my capabilities, but I'm going to give it a good shot, and usually can come up with performance.
Playing new music can be exhausting and tiring and exhilarating. I think the best and the worst of music, because we're experimenting with new ideas and new music.
Like in any art form, the world of new music has many schools of thought as to just what it is or should be. Fierce battles waged, for example, between supporters of serialist versus tonal music. But what David Stock considers more important is that a group like Pittsburgh New Music Ensemble exists to translate the composer's written score into music. All he asks is that the public not be afraid to give it a shot.
We don't want to be intimidating, and people are easily intimidated. I don't know anything about that. Well, you don't have to know anything. No one's going to question the audience's credentials when they come in the door, and nobody's going to give a test on the analysis of the piece. The main thing is to expose oneself, to listen to it, And if you don't like it the first time, try it again. You still might not like it. It might not work the second time. But having some of this in your ears is certainly going to make the second and the third time easier.
Pittsburghers may be slow to accept new music as standard fare, but then Stravinsky's Rite of Spring was greeted with a riot in the theater. However, sometimes an idea comes along that's a winner from the word go.
The River City Brass Band has revived an American tradition in music. Around the turn of the century, there were 20,000 brass bands in America, 80 of them in and around Pittsburgh. 2 were company-sponsored employee bands at the H.J. Heinz Company. Others were sponsored by ethnic, fraternal, and political organizations. In the days before radio and television, attending band concerts was one of the most popular ways for Pittsburghers to enjoy their favorite old songs and be introduced to new ones. Bandstands were a feature of most parks in those days, and no political rally, company picnic, or civic celebration like the 4th of July was complete without a brass band. But their heyday didn't last long, according to Bob Bernat, founder and director of the River City Brass Band.
What interested me was why they stopped, and it appears that 2 reasons. One was the Depression back in the 1930s, when there were limited, if any, profits to support that kind of thing. And the other thing, which was told to me by some old-time union members, was that the corporations, when they were unionized about the same time, is the corporations no longer felt the same sense of responsibility for their employees, and they fully expected that the unions would take over that function, or that those functions would pass into the community. And of course, then what came along just about the time they might have done that was the Second World War. And the conjunction of those 2 things, the Depression and the Second World War, and it all went belly up.
Bernat is a composer, conductor, and a music educator, and his interest in brass bands was sparked when the Grimethorpe Colliery Band from England visited Pittsburgh as part of the bicentennial celebration. Invited to compose a piece for the band to play, Bernat became so intrigued by the whole history and tradition of brass bands that he spent a year studying in England, where amateur brass bands flourish and are highly regarded. He came back determined to revive the tradition here, and within a few years formed the River City Brass Band, the only professional brass band in the country. The band takes its bright, brassy sound to cities and small towns, traveling by bus to West Virginia, Ohio, and eastern Pennsylvania, where it recently performed at Lancaster's restored Fulton Opera House.
The River City Brass Band has really been the most enjoyable, most rewarding musical experience I've ever had. Number one, the band are the nicest group of people I've ever worked with in about 40 years of being involved professionally in music. And it really brings together a lot of strands in my own life, musical strands, things I believe in musically, but some social values and political beliefs, all of that stuff kind of comes to a focus in this band. So it really has been, as I say, the most rewarding musical experience I've had my whole life.
Bernat continues the brass band tradition of playing on civic holidays with his annual 4th of July concert at Hartwood Acres. The 76 trombones of the Music Man notwithstanding, the composition of instruments in a British-style brass band, such as the River City, is as precise as its performance. There are exactly 27 instruments, 25 brass and 2 percussion.